I don't hear the chanting. From Prabhupada. I assume you're recording everything, right? Perfect. Now it's good.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari Jaya Utpat Paramahamsa Parivrajakarya Satara Sadasama Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Govardhana Sam Radha Krishna ki Jai Vrindavan Dham ki Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai Navadvip Bhakti Vrinda ki Jai All glories to the Assembled Lord. All glories to the Assembled Lord. All glories to the Assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Do you hear me properly, devotees?
I hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
I hear you.
Okay, perfect. My obeisance to you, Vanchakalpatarubhyacha, Kripa Sindhu Vyayvasha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Prabhupada ki jai. So devotees, my name is Mahatma Das. I've been asked to talk about unity and cooperation. So I will try to do that. First of all, I'd like to thank you, devotees, for organizing this. Madhurapati Das Prabhu, Balaram Prabhu. It is very, very good, very encouraging. Prabhupada wanted this, and the Sankirtan movement means together. So great job. Thank you so much. For those that may be wondering, I've been asked to talk about unity and cooperation because in 90 and 91, I realized there was a need of focusing to unite everyone on Srila Prabhupada. So I and Pratikananda Prabhu were used by Lord Krishna to start the Prabhupada Festival in Los Angeles. And then for 1996, I realized I had to make an offering for Prabhupada Centennial. It occurred to me, that if I read the purposes for ISKCON, then I would know what to offer Prabhupada. And I was very surprised, pleasantly surprised, in all ways surprised and very encouraged to see that Prabhupada formed ISKCON for devotees to be united and cooperating to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. So I think to save time, we can say that this lecture is based on 434, that Vikipane Patina Paripashnena Savaya Upadakshantite Janam Janinastavadarsinaha, that one must approach the true bona fide spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, and render Savaya, service to him. The self-realized soul will impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Right? In the purport to this text, Prabhupada starts by saying that the path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam says, Dharmamhi Chakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. The path of religion is directly initiated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation and arguments cannot help one progress in the spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret to advancement in the spiritual life. Inquiries and submissions constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. One should not only hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. Om Janate Malandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Janatasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I give my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is kindly getting me out of the darkness of ignorance with his light torch of knowledge. So, devotees, immediately Prabhupada says that spiritual life is not easy, not easy. Some of us, it's not easy the spiritual life, and it's not easy the material life. It's difficult for us to pay the bills. So it's not easy at all. Prabhupada is totally right in this regard. And I want to go directly to what Prabhupada says very interestingly, that on top of rendering service, inquiring submissively, one must pass the test of the spiritual master. So there's different tests. There's collective tests and there's individual tests, right? When Prabhupada orders an individual devotee to do something, it's a test. And we must pass that test. We should humbly submit to the order of the spiritual master and try our best to fulfill that order, right? So that's a test. Now, the collective test, we should all chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 relative principles, get up early in the morning, attend morning and evening class, be engaged in Christian activities, right? And one test that has a kind of hidden from us is that we have not understood the mission of the spiritual master. Prabhupada talks about that here in this purport too. So one collective test is that we have to understand that Prabhupada is trying to fulfill the order of his spiritual master, which is that he wants unity and cooperation amongst all the God brothers and sisters to push the preaching mission. That is what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wanted. Form a GVC and united and in cooperation push the preaching mission. But that order was not obeyed. So Prabhupada was very concerned about that, and he established then the League of Devotees with the purpose of unity and cooperation, and in this way fulfill the preaching mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Unfortunately, his god brothers were not receptive. They were fighting in the courts for 40 years for bricks and dirt kind of thing, and money and followers and so forth. And so Prabhupada, after a while, although he had made very beautiful center with a very nice, how you say, the name of the institution, League of Devotees, in big letters on the wall outside. Nobody was inspired by this, and different sects, groups, they separated from each other and fought, right? So when Prabhupada saw that his God brothers were not receptive to this unity and cooperation, he established ISKCON. And nobody helped him. He was all alone. And he established the purposes of ISKCON to be to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large, to educate peoples in the techniques of a spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. So immediately he uses the word unity. 2, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, the Gita is about unity of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness that Arjuna, exhibited after Krishna preached to him. 3, to bring the members of the society together. Again, together and unity are synonymous, right? Same thing. With each other and near to Krishna. the prime entity, and thus develop the idea within the members and humanity at large. He's concerned about the whole of humanity, that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead, Krishna. So again, he's using the word together here, which means unity. 4, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement. Sankirtan cannot be done unless we're together. Sankirtan means unity and together and cooperation. Congregational chanting that is together of the holy names of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So to erect for the members, number 5, and society at large, he's again concerned about all of humanity. A holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. 6, again, to bring the members closer together. So it's very clear here what Prabhupada's intention is with ISKCON. For purposes of the teaching, a simpler, more natural way of life. 7, with a view toward achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings, right? So when I read this, I said, oh, Prabhupada wants all of us to be united and cooperating with each other, right? So in 1996, I rented the whole Baha'i Center in Los Angeles. It was $700 for the day. It had a big auditorium, huge kitchen, all this conference halls, incredible reception and everything area. And 450 devotees came. Of course, most devotees had their own, the GBC and all that, they had their own agenda and so forth. We distributed 118 very beautiful recognition plaques to create a good environment and so forth. Of course, the devotees by and large were not receptive, and some thought that I had some political agenda. They thought that I wanted to become the temple president in Los Angeles. Incredible. Okay, we're going to move forth. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:38, Krishna says, I am pleased by the friendly relationships among you. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me. So this is extremely important, because when we are together, we're friendly to each other, right? It pleases Krishna, which is the goal of life, right? And we can expect any benediction. He's asking, you can ask for any benediction. So he will, because he's ready to give it to us, whatever we ask for. But he says here that we have to have friendly relationship first. In the purport, it says real unity, about real unity, what real unity is, quote, souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service of the Lord is real unity, right? So this cannot be achieved unless we're together. That's what it says, really. All alone, we cannot do it. We have to be together to do it. This unity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in the society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and leaning toward material things. You see? So Prabhupada explains that this is, that we're attacked by Maya. The moment that we team up for Krishna, Maya becomes very keen to try to destroy that. So we have to understand what this means. This is because although we may talk about servant of the servant, we tend to practice master of the master. See, the talk can be very nice, but we're supposed to be acharyas. We're supposed to teach by example, right? So in my humble, I'm not a scholar of any type, but I observe, I try to read, I try to understand, and I come up with some conclusions. You know, there is two types of people, and two types of devotees. One is humanistic and pathetic, and the other one is competitive, dominating. The humanistic and empathetic identifies with the suffering of others and practices more servant of the servant philosophy and uses a lot the word feel. They give more credit to others. The competitive, dominating are autocrats. They want to be followed by everybody. They may have a small nucleus that decides and dictates down to the followers. They use the words I think, I believe, more than the word I feel. And although, you know, a competitive devotee, dominating devotee may give a very nice lecture about the holy name of the Lord, they become particularly, we become, right? I have to include myself. We all have this, you know, this demonic, in this age, this demonic entities within the heart of each one of us, including the devotees of the Lord, right? So, so we get especially pleased when we hear what name? We hear our name. When we hear our name, you know, I've noticed it in myself too. That, you know, oh, is he going to say Mahatma? And if he says Mahatma, I become very pleased. So, but what did Jayananda do? Prabhupada said, you should follow the example of Jayananda. Letter of May 11, 1977. Everyone should follow the example of Jayananda. When Jayananda was praised, he would plug his ears. He would plug his ears and he would walk away to do service, you see, like that. So this is a distinction between the different types of propensity or conditioning, some more humanistic and pathetic, some competitive, dominating, right? So we have to analyze and try to see where we fall and try to create some balance. Why? Because if we don't, we'll suffer. And this mission will not be pushed as Prabhupada wants it. We will not develop trust and love amongst the devotees, right? This is why Srila Prabhupada, crying and with a very short voice, he saw, my disciples are very proud, very, very proud. So that gave him a lot of pain because he knew that they would suffer. So he said, crying and with a choked voice, please consider yourself rotten, fallen, which is the philosophy, right? Lower than the straw on the street. That is the philosophy. That is the practice. So he said, please consider yourself rotten, fallen. Like Krishna Kishore Das Baba, the author of the SEC, you know, he said, Prabhu, please don't think I'm trying to, you know, promote myself as something by force. I know who I am, he said. I am no better than the worm in the stool, right? But by force, Krishna is pushing me to do this. So Prabhupada says, be very, very careful. You're dealing with Krishna. You have to be humble. You have to be meek, right? Mild. These are the qualities of the devotee. So Prabhupada went on to say, if you go to Prabhupadanuga's worldwide.org, in articles, you'll see a compilation that I made of everything Prabhupada said about unity and cooperation. And we also compiled everything about personal ambition and good management. I don't know where that went. I'm low tech. But that unity and cooperation is there, 41 pages, mainly letters. And some of the things Prabhupada said, we should definitely consider it extremely seriously. If you don't cooperate, you render me useless, Prabhupada said. Never take a position of non-cooperation towards your God brothers and sisters. Even if you disagree, still you should cooperate. But if we have this competitive, dominating, asuric quality, right, in the heart, we think, oh, I'm very successful, and all should follow me, cooperate with me only, because I am very successful. So everybody should, make that success greater by joining me. But he's not thinking of cooperating. Cooperation is a reciprocal thing. If I cooperate, those that I cooperate with should cooperate with me at a time of need or something, right? But the competitive dominated, they don't understand that. It's my way or the highway, right? We've seen that a lot in our movement, unfortunately. So always calculating, how I can get this devotee to give me money or service. Accumulating wealth, followers, beautiful women and men. I added men there. This is the opposite of the philosophy, of course. And Srila Prabhupada condemns it. He teaches that we are all equals. We are all equals. But the competitive is never satisfied. He's always anxious. While the humanistic and empathetic, he's always jolly, happy. So we have to see, where we fall here. Even if we're empathetic, jolly, happy, enthusiastic, not anxious, and so forth, those type of devotees, they can end up in the short end of the stick because of the dominating influence of others, right? So we have to see where we are and create a balance, right? Not be so naive and gullible and so forth, right? And watch out for ourselves. The competitive is happy when he finds someone he can dominate and get the money and service. Otherwise, he's anxious. The humanistic is generally enthusiastic, happy and equal to all. So how to solve this? We have to analyze again. Where do I fall? Am I competitive, dominating, or am humanistic and empathetic? We both have homework to do. We have to give balance to each other. Dominating should make a special effort to be more personal and mild with the God brothers and sisters. The humanistic should be alert, not to be taken advantage of. So we've seen when we're too competitive and dominating, we don't care about whether Prabhupada was poisoned or not. That's what I have found. We don't care about the original books. And we don't care about protecting women, true brahmanas, and children, and the cows, you see. So this is how we can identify what position have we taken. Also, we will try to silence criticism even of the Vedavata self-made rascals, self-made auto-denominated gods, Sri Upanishad. For what reason? We don't, for money, Please, Prabhu, don't say too much about these gurus, false gurus, because it's hurting our economy. We don't want a big campaign, but we have to learn the history about this, the philosophy about this. Nothing wrong with some devotees not compromising at all regarding the Vedavata Rata culture. Prabhupada says that this culture goes to hell, right? So we don't want anybody to go to hell. Prabhupada says, the pseudo-spiritual master flatters his disciple, and then both the master and his ward go to hell without any doubt. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1937 in the purport, all right? So we have to find a solution to this dilemma, right? Otherwise, we keep in the mode of passion and ignorance. How to do that? We have to be more personal and get to know the devotees. How many times you never seen this devotee, never heard of him, anything? Prabhu, can you give a donation for this or that? Or can you do this service? It's always about money and, no. We have to learn about the devotees. We have to learn, where are you from? What's your education? What have you done? What service? And are you married? And the children, and etc. Get to know. It's extremely important to get to know. Pick up the phone and call your god brothers and sisters. If they call you, make sure you return that call. If they are in your area and they call you, invite them to take a shot at them and do kirtan together. Learn about the devotee. So this is extremely important. We have identified. I think about these things, that if you don't know about a devotee, guess what? You don't know how to relate to that devotee. And if you don't know how to relate with that devotee, then you cannot become friends, you see. But if you hear and I have an example. I had a tenant. He was the only one left in his family. And then I have another acquaintance who his family is 300 people, right? So you don't talk the same way to both of them, no. To one that doesn't have family, you talk in one way, and the other one that has 300 members in his family, you talk different way. That's known as how to relate with people. You relate properly, people will appreciate that you're conscious of them, and then you can become friends. And after you become friends, the sky is the limit. Then we can have what Prabhupada wants of us, which is trust and love. So that's my presentation. I will now welcome devotees to comment or make questions, if you have any questions. In the meantime, I'll say a little bit about myself. I was born in Chile. I am the nephew of a grand-nephew of General Raymond Freire, who liberated Chile from Spain. Came to California at 14, got a job at Warner Brothers at 18. I wanted a career in that. 2 years from a law degree, a Screen Actors Guild member, trying to produce a movie. I don't recommend that unless you know what you're doing. And I started the Prabhupada Family Reunion, the Prabhupada Festival, got the certified copies of the corporation papers of the BBT and ISKCON to start the case. Eventually gave us the rights to print the original books. I jump-started of course, we don't do anything, right? If we had made the sun and the air and the breathing and the heartbeat and all that, we could say we did something, right? But but I was part of jump-starting the poison investigation in 2001. I was interviewed by PBS regarding the children, abuse of the children. So I helped them make the framework for that famous documentary, The Children of Krishna. And then after 32 years, I realized nobody had done a memorial for Sulochana Prabhu, so I have Sulochana here, his picture. So we did 2 memorials for Sulochana Prabhu. And now I'm part of the founder or pioneer. It's going to be 3 years now of Nueva Ocula in Mexico, mainly by Zoom. Although we have Temple Commander, we have book distribution every day, we're printing the magazine, and we're on the 3rd issue. We're printing the 4th issue. It's going to come in different languages in the future. So I'm attending classes 11 times a week, morning and evening program with them on Zoom. And I'm the advisor and general contributor. This Sangha, we elected President Krishna Kishore Prabhu. He's a civil engineer, very good with computers, a scholarly type of devotee, has an incredible memory. He teaches himself all kinds of things, amazing. So we're very encouraged. And how you do that, you find one devotee. You find one devotee that you're like-minded with, right? And then the 2 of you find a 3rd devotee, and the 3 of you find a 4th devotee, right? So now we've had, Bhagavatam class, as many as 17 devotees right there, mainly new people. And we've had a couple of, Ritvik initiation ceremony festivals. And since Krishna Kishore is a studious type of guy, he has all these courses, right, that we hope to translate into other languages. And so that attracts people that are like, about to become a psychologist. It attracts attorneys, attracts professional people, studious type of people. And so that's it. That's a little bit about me. So it's important that we know each other. Any question or comment, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Glory to Srila Prabhupada. I met Mahatma in 1977 and I preached to him. And then later on in 1980, he was a burning Ritwik. He was preaching very, very heavily. And I knew about the whole thing, but he kept on pushing me. And finally, 20 years later or so, I came out of the closet, and here we are now trying to do something for Srila Prabhupada. And I always appreciated Mahatma's sincerity and effort. He's never been after being recognized or have a title. He's just an everyday person trying to push on the movement.
Okay.
And so that's a real good example. We should all try to follow his example. Hare Krishna.
Well, Prabhu, I'm very, very indebted to you. Very indebted to you, because I remember, you don't remember that, I remember vividly, I was practicing Siddha Yoga to the point that the Soham mantra would repeat itself of its own accord inside my body, and I could hear it, right? The chakras in my body would vibrate when this happened. So Soham means I am that truth, right? So when I met Janaspriya, he says, so what have you concluded that you are? And I said, I am Krishna, I am God. So knowing much better than I did at that time, the real philosophy, Janaspriya said, oh, you're God. That's okay. So if you're God, can you tell me what's on the other side of this wall? He said. And I said, no, I cannot tell you. So what kind of a God are you? That is omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, right? You should know. So I remember I got really excited because I was sure I was going to give him the right answer. And I said, just wait. Let me serve my Siddha Yoga Guru for another 6 months, and then I can tell you what's on the other side of the wall. And he said, well, if you're God, why do you have to wait 6 months to exhibit your potency? So, of course, I couldn't say anything. He shut me up, I just, I was defeated. And right after that, he said, eres un buen chavo. He's from Mexico. That means you're a good guy, Matthew. But the real truth is that God is the greatest, He's master. He's the biggest and He's master. And we're very, very little. and we are his eternal servants. That's true religion. And when I heard that, I said, that's what I've been looking for. I recognize that to be the truth. So soon, I didn't appreciate it very much, to tell you the truth, because Jana Spirit would wake me up at 2:30 or 3 in the morning to chant Hare Krishna, and somehow I built up the strength after a while to be able to do it. But it was not easy in the beginning for me. And so I owe, so much. And it's just so nice, this Krishna consciousness. After so many years, September of 1977, we had that conversation. And we are often in classes together, although I'm in the north of Florida and he is in Hawaii. So this Krishna consciousness there's no parallel. Any other question or comment, devotees?
I have a question. Is it the cooperation in between the bodies? Is it it's all right. Maybe you could clarify this for me. Is it, what is it, what's more important? I know the cooperation is important, and Prabhupada wanted that with his godbrothers and he didn't get it. So what he did, he went ahead and did his preaching mission. So shall we follow that way, that instead of preaching to the bodies, we should go and preach to new people, because that's the future. We don't need to revive somebody that is half dead or almost dead or practically dead. Shall we spend our energy and time in preaching to new people, or shall we spend more time trying to become close to the bodies?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. You don't want to hit your head against a brick wall, right? So you try to go to receptive first devotees, right? You have to go to devotees. You cannot do it alone. You have to do it together in unity with somebody, right? So you try to identify, devotees that may be receptive, and you share with them your realizations and so forth. You tell them, all of this about unity and cooperations in articles at Prabhupadanuga's worldwide.org. Please try to study, try to understand. We have yet to find one devotee that's truly expert on this field, but devotees are starting to read, one devotee told me, you know what, I thought you were making it all up. He said like that. And, but, after so many years, you're pushing this thing, and went and I read, and you're right, now I see Prabhupada wanted this, he established ISKCON for unity and cooperation, So you start with devotees, and then you have to know the history, and who is who in the movement, and how violent people have been against Srila Prabhupada, and all that. But Prabhupada didn't make a big deal about, his godbrothers not following the instructions of this. He focused on the philosophy, and tried to preach to new people. That will keep you enthusiastic. If there's no preaching to new people, you're not going to be enthusiastic. Prabhupada says that. So we should focus on that, but we should also learn the history, the violent history. This is eternal violent history against Krishna, against, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, from Smarta Brahmanas and so forth, caste Brahmanas and so forth, and it continues to the present day, right? So we have to be aware of that and eventually teach, and who are the personalities involved. But, we have to teach by example, be acharya of, swimming in this ocean of bliss that Krishna consciousness really is. So we have to place emphasis on that, through preaching activities.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have a question. Yeah. How can we practically actually move forward in cultivating a relationship where we accept devotees for kind of who they are and what they are, even though they may have some different opinion, different position, but simultaneously put Srila Prabhupada higher than all that in order to allow us to either physically cooperate or with words cooperate, encourage each other, because the biggest thing I see killing devotees now and killing enthusiasm, as was expressed by Mathurapati Prabhu this morning, and I think even somebody else, is throughout my whole material life, I never had people go against me as much as I have within devotional service, and I've got that experience also. So we have the biggest, let's say, attack on us and our situation from actually our devotee community. So I'm like, that's it's a bit crazy. So it's like,
I'm hearing.
and we accept the differences that devotees may have, simultaneously keep Prabhupada firmly above all that. So we do cooperate, we do encourage each other, we do support each other.
Yes, Prabhu. Krishna consciousness is a process of education, right? So we have to educate yourself. We have to educate ourselves about Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada spoke in the class, right? This morning, he spoke how there's the Brahmanas, there's the Kshatriyas, there is the Vaishyas, there is the Shudras, right? And how there has to be a very, very good relationship between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. And the rest, the Vaishyas and the Shudras. So we have to understand devotees, they somehow, because we don't have this knowledge very well understood and established within ourselves, that we all have different propensities. We all have different levels of Krishna consciousness, you see? So we cannot expect everybody to be like us. But because of lack of knowledge, we sometimes push everybody to be like us. You have to be like me. You have to live in a farm. You have to, etc. You have to do as I do. No, that is a poor form of knowledge. Understanding that we're all different, we all have different propensities, and we all have different levels of Krishna consciousness. The thing is that we have to make sure, right, that we come to the goodness level, the mode of goodness. Because if we're in Rajagun, or the mode of passion, Prabhupada says, and my next talk is going to be based on this, that a very dangerous position if you're staying in the mode of passion, which is the bulk of the movement, right? Because you can easily fall down into ignorance, and then you become madman, right? So it's having solid knowledge that we're all different, we're all individuals, we all have different propensities, and we all have different levels of Krishna consciousness. And then it'll be easier. Okay, well, this devotee, but everybody, that's why Jayananda and Prabhupada were so successful. They understood this very, very nicely, and they were not artificially trying to take a position that was not for them, and they were not artificially trying to get devotees to take a different position other than their propensity, right? Like that. So it's all based on education, like knowing the philosophy and trying to practice it by example, right? So in this regard, we can say that, we are not qualified to be a temple president of a GBC, then is taking that position artificially. That is not being an acharya, it's not giving a good example. But to take a more humble position and supporting the preachers and the temple president and the GBC, you see, then that's more honest, and it's better, right? So we have to be the leaders. If one wants to become a leader, or if one has some leadership quality in the Krishna consciousness movement, it means you're Mahatma. Mahatma means great soul, right? You have a wide criteria. white crate, not a cripple-minded person, but you're able to see the different people in different positions, and you're able to engage everybody to one degree or another. Prabhupada took it to the extreme. When the devotees were smoking cigarettes, Prabhupada, okay, let me have the cigarettes, and when you want one, I'll give it to you. I cannot hear.
We also can't.
You need to mute yourself. You're unmuted.
Can you hear? I cannot hear you.
There
Okay,
is
now
a
I can
question.
I think somebody else was trying to speak. Maybe Jonas Priya.
There is a question on the chat from Yodo.
Can you read it for me, please?
It says, to be a devotee, one must serve a pure devotee. So if those in ISKCON serve someone that belongs to the Apra Sampadaya, GBC, rubber stamp guru, are they even devotees?
Well, Prabhupada says that when you have a pseudo spiritual master that flatters the disciple, and then both the master and the disciple go to hell, devotees don't go to hell. Devotees go to either the Vaikuntha lokas, at the lowest we go to Brahma loka, and then but the Chaitanya movement is for devotees to go to Krishna loka, and if not be part of the Madhurya Ras conjugal love, at least we're to witness it, right? So, yeah. Somebody that has a false guru cannot be considered a devotee. Prabhupada, again, Mahatma, right criteria, you say Krishna once, right? You're a devotee. That's part of the philosophy, right? But Prabhupada places emphasis that we have to move ourselves to the mode of goodness, and we cannot move ourselves to the mode of goodness unless we have a true bona fide spiritual master. Prabhupada says, if you get the mantra from a false guru, it's like drinking the milk touched by the lips of a serpent. You see? So that's why we see that when somebody accepts the mantra from somebody that is not qualified unless so ordered to be a spiritual master, then those people, they repeat the mantra and they become very poisonous. They become very violent even, very short-fused, and they create a disruption, right? So it's correct. We have to have a Srila Prabhupada as our spiritual master, right? He manifests all the 26 qualities of a devotee in full. There's other characteristics that, these great souls like Prabhupada and Jesus Christ that were predicted before they came by scriptures and other great prophets, another great gurus or Sampadaya Acharyas, right? Prabhupada and Jesus Christ, it happened like that. Generally, they're born in a family of devotees. They show symptoms of devotion at a very early age. Prabhupada at 5 years old did the Rath Yatras. Jesus at 9 years old was impressing all the religious authorities of Jerusalem, right? Fully conversant, he's fully conversant in all systems of philosophy, such as those authored by Jaimini, Pantajali, Ashtavaka, Kannada, Vedavyas, Gautama, right? That's Srimad Bhagavatam 117 in the purport. Nobody can sit on the Vyasa unless fully conversant in all of these systems of philosophy. These are very, very vast systems, right? You can lecture for 3 months on just one verse in any one of these systems, right? So somebody to be fully conversant in these systems is extremely rare. In fact, I've approached some of these voted-in gurus and I've asked them, who are the authors of these systems? And they were not able to even give me one name, not even the name of Vedavyas, So that's how you study, as is recommended, whether a guru is true or not, it's qualified or not. Prabhupada says, don't go so speedily So in addition to being qualified, it's not enough. Let's say somebody is fully conversant, he's qualified, he's following all the principles and everything. Very good, right? Does that qualify him to be a Diksha Guru? No, it does not. Prabhupada says, when I order 3 times, you can become regular Guru. And he said, don't go through speedily. Guru can be Guru only if ordered by his Guru. Otherwise, nobody can be Guru. That is, that was Bhagavad Gita class, October 28th, 1975 in Nairobi, Kenya, right? So, so unless you have a true bona fide spiritual master, and you understand the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita cannot be understood unless you are a devotee. So, Shatha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Nartha Niviti, Nishta Rushya, Shakti Bhav, Krishna Prema, right? So the second step, Sadhu Sangha, you have to have a true bona fide spiritual master. And then you can be considered a devotee. And this is the most important principle in life, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. After 7 days and nights of discussion, originally Ramananda Roy is considered to be Arjuna, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, right? And among his most intimate associates of Chaitanya, Ramananda Roy was one of them. Murari Gupta, Damodar was another, like that. So Chaitanya was always eager to hear about Krishna. So he asked Ramananda Roy, which is the most important principle in life? And he said all kinds of things for 7 days and nights for like very important things, like chanting purely, Varnashram system. He even said, this conjugal love in the spiritual world is the most important. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected all of them. Until he said Sadhu Sangha. And then Mahaprabhu said, Ramananda Roy, now you have ascertained. Please elaborate, right? Please elaborate. So this is what made me, wait 9 years until on May 22nd, 1986, I got my Riddick ceremony, right? Because it's the most important principle in life, right? And Ramananda Roy elaborated and he said, this person, you have to identify a Mahajan, not ordinary. We think that the Sadhu Sangha is just the Sangha amongst ourselves. No. In the absolute Tata form, the Sangha means that you have to identify a Mahajan, a great, great personality. What another meaning of Mahajan is Mahabhagavat, totally surrendered to Krishna. Siddha, Nitya Siddha or Kripa Siddha or Sadhana Siddha, he must be perfect. Uttama Adhikari of the topmost level of devotion, right? So you must identify this person and make your life and soul the loving service to this person. Without that, we cannot. So the bulk of the Krishna consciousness movement is wrong in this most important principle. The second most important principle is to chant purely, not committing the 10 offenses. But devotees are saying, oh, you can chant without knowing the offenses. No, we have to learn the offenses and not commit them. That's what Prabhupada wants. The 9 processes of devotional service, 9 steps that culminate in Krishna Prema, 5 different types of liberation, 10 offenses we can commit against the holy name. We have to learn these things and practice. So my realization, you cannot get out of the mode of passion and risk going into ignorance unless you know about unity. You have a true bona fide spiritual master. You have a unity and cooperation, right? And then you have touch with nature. Every mystic that I've read about, they all have some appreciation for nature. Prabhupada would swim in the Yamuna, he would bathe in the Ganges, he would go to the forest in West Virginia. So that's why these rural communities are so important, or some sort of nature. So then when we're established on this thing, then we establish ourselves in the mode of goodness. And then nirgun comes, which is no tension of any mode of nature, right? I hope that helps. And any other question or comment? I'm not sure what time it is.
Mahatma Prabhu, are you okay to go on?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, no problem. If you have any more comments or questions or even corrections,
Can anyone hear me? Is this microphone working?
I can hear.
Okay. Hare Krishna. My obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
What is your name?
Maitreya Rishi Dasa.
Jai Jai, welcome Prabhu obeisances.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Nice to speak with you. I have heard about you from His Grace Puruja Prabhu. Very, very nice things. So it's an honor to speak with you. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for the nice talk. Very much appreciates what you and Balaram and Mathurapati especially are organizing here. It's really awesome to have a Prabhupada festival like this, celebrating Prabhupada, talking about the philosophy, all the followers of Prabhupada together. So nice. So thank you very much. This is very much appreciated. Yeah, so I'm speaking here. Sorry, Prabhu?
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I'm speaking here from our South London temple. So we just heard the talk this morning. Very much pleased with Mathurapati's understanding of the philosophy, very lucid realizations, speaking very nicely about unity. Very much appreciated. Because yeah, we're here also doing book distribution, daily Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita classes open for the public. Here in London, you know, in the center, Kali Yuga, 4 brahmacharis, 3 Masajis. It's going on quite nicely. So it's very nice to also see other devotees also preaching. Sorry,
are you part of Bliss?
Yes, I'm a part of Bliss. I'm the temple president of Bliss, South London.
Very nice. Okay.
So yeah, so thank you, Babu. My question is regarding your point that you made about the lips of a serpent, and when the mantra is touched by a non-devotee, the effect becomes poisonous. So my question is that for example, there are certain institutions where this is going on, where there are people who have taken Srila Prabhupada's position artificially. We can call them non-devotees by their offensive nature, but still there are disciples of those so-called gurus who do hear from Prabhupada. After all, Prabhupada's books are studied in that institution. So, you know, how are the devotees actually getting misled? Because they hear Prabhupada. I think, do you follow my question?
Yeah. The moment that you don't have a true bona fide spiritual master, you're being misled. And these devotees, no doubt, don't have the qualifications and less so the orders. Prabhupada said you cannot become a spiritual master by a collective vote. So they're breaking all of these rules. Now, still, I think that, you know, the most receptive to the true Krishna consciousness, the true bona fide spiritual master, are persons in contact with this Vedavata culture, interestingly enough. Okay, so we have to be very receptive as to who is innocent and very sincere, and who is, you know, hardcore deviant.
Okay, but what I mean to say is that these devotees in this organization, they are hearing from Srila Prabhupada, right? And if the spiritual master is giving knowledge by hearing, by Vani, then, you know, they all study Prabhupada's books, they hear Prabhupada's kirtans. I mean, I don't know about the quantity compared to the good followers of Srila Prabhupada in this call, but they still hear from Srila Prabhupada. So I mean, that we can't say that Srila Prabhupada is, you know, a snake and that he's contaminating, his Vani is contaminating. So how are they being misled, even if they are the disciples of the guru, if the guru is encouraging them to hear from Srila Prabhupada?
Yeah, because the books have been changed, Prabhu. There's 4,000 changes from the first books like Sri Upanishad up to the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam alone, right? So, and the change is on the most important principle in life. So there is no way you can learn so many things, right? And you can be very, very fixed up in your sadhana and everything. But if you're wrong in the most important principle in life, there's no doubt that you're not going to get the right result, right? So we have to try to see who is sincere and they can be receptive to this, right? And accept only Srila Prabhupada as their spiritual master. And only accept the original books without change. The devotee came here with 12 books, original books. I had another 25. We teamed up, we did some work for 6-7 months, and now we have over 100 books, original, scanned at the highest resolution in various 2 or 3 clouds, and one of them is ready to be printed. Because they changed the philosophy. For example, in that famous verse of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where he says, everyone become guru and liberate the land, right? That's CC Maria Lila 7, 128 to 140 in the purport. For one thing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not say Diksha Guru. He just said Guru. And in the purport, Prabhupada says it is best not to accept any disciples, not even one, right? They have changed that. Even Ritvic Prabhupadanugas that have, because that happens too. I know of a couple of Ritvic Prabhupadanugas that they decided to be so-called Diksha Gurus, and they have changed at the very least from any to many. Like that. So they're changing the philosophy and the most important principle. That's their main thing. That's their main fault. And Prabhupada makes it clear that if you don't have a true bona fide spiritual master, but you have a pretender, right? He calls him pretender, pseudo spiritual master, then both the master and they go to hell. So that means that they've decided to reject becoming a devotee of Krishna, right? Because if you become a true devotee of Krishna, you go to Brahmaloka, or you go to, at the very least, or you go to the Vaikuntha Lokas. But our aim as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followers, our aim is Krishna Loka. And that's the destiny of the true bona fide follower of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we cannot be sentimental about these things, we cannot change the philosophy.
Okay,
Mahatma
Prabhu.
Prabhu, do you mind if I make a comment? It's your class.
Sure, no problem. Of course.
Okay, I really like Maitreya Prabhu's question, and it brings up a nice deep conversation for us all to consider. And just quickly, without talking about myself, I don't really want, but it's an example that is experienced by me. In 1994, I met Prabhupada in his book form, The Science of Self-Realization. Never met devotees. So probably that book was a little bit changed at that time. Then joined ISKCON in 95, and then followed and served within the institution called ISKCON, Prabhupada's movement. And absolutely, I found every day was a blissful day in the service of Prabhupada. In my head, I was serving Prabhupada, and whether it was deity worship, whether it was book distribution, whether it was going preaching, blah, blah, blah. Got Bhagavad Gita, which was, of course, the changed one or the adjusted one right now, not the original, blah, blah, blah. And then I found I've had a very blissful spiritual life in Krishna consciousness, focused on Prabhupada. And I always feel in my relationship and connection to Prabhupada increasing, to the point where in 1997, I found the Ritvic order and then accepted that, and he's my guru. So this idea that somebody within Prabhupada's institution, which I accept is Prabhupada's institution even now as ISKCON, is, yeah, you'll get your turn, don't worry. Yeah, we have, of course, we have difference of opinion. So, but absolutely, in my understanding, I accept Prabhupada's movement. Prabhupada is there. Prabhupada's sound vibration is there. Prabhupada's, let's say, even in the worst situation, 80% of his words are there. And almost everything that each person does in a daily life, waking up early, attending Mangalarti, chanting 16 rounds, doing Tulsi Puja, all that is actually given by Prabhupada. These disciples of Prabhupada really just come between Prabhupada and us for a very, very minute amount of time. You know, if you really look at the amount of time that we within ISKCON associate with Prabhupada's books and Prabhupada's tapes and Prabhupada's kirtans and all that, compared to how much we associate with these devotees that are sadly getting in the way a bit, the association with Prabhupada is much greater by far, and of course, much more potent. So Maitreya Prabhu's question was, how can we consider them poisoned by serpents or snakes? Okay, that's there, absolutely. Any conditioned person who's got motivation and coming in the way is absolutely giving some contamination. But the potency and the purity of Prabhupada's sound vibration within even his change Pujana is still by far much greater, much more powerful. We're not going, I'm sure we're not going to say that that little snake and that little poison is greater than Prabhupada. So from my own personal experience and what I see in ISKCON devotees is definitely they're making progress. They could make much more progress actually if they just had focus on Prabhupada. Sadly, Prabhupada's disciples are getting in the way a bit, which we're trying to change, but still they're making great progress and they could make much more, agreed, but definitely not going to hell, as some people are saying.
Well, Prabhupada is saying Prabhupada wrote, not just some people, Prabhupada wrote in the Bhagavatam, like again, 1:1937, the pseudo-spiritual master, and these are pseudo-spiritual masters, flatter their disciple, and then both the disciple and the master and his ward or his disciple both go to hell without any doubt. Yeah, so we have to canvas for those devotees that understand that Prabhupada said in 1970, he said he used the word great, sinister movement has entered our society. They should be exposed or totally neglected. So we have a duty to expose this. And if we don't have what it takes to expose, then we have to totally neglect them, at least warn our families and close friends, right? And the end of this, the evidence, there's 4 books out that Prabhupada was, in fact, Prabhupada, he said in, as late on April 22nd, on May 27th, right? October 8th, and then November 10th. He said, nobody's qualified, great to be guru, great, good management, and what did he say? Keen vigilance he used. So these devotees don't jump to be guru, right? And on October 8th of 1977, Prabhupada said, I have brought these Vanaras. Vanaras in Sanskrit means monkeys, like Meleshas and Yavanas. Meleshas and Yavanas, they eat the cow oftentimes, right? And meat. Like Meleshas and Yavanas. No one in them is fully qualified. And then on November, in Bengali conversation in Vrindavan, right? And then on November 10th, Prabhupada wanted to go around Govardhan Hill. He said, if you take me to Govardhan Hill, I think I may live. And they said, no, we're not going to take you because we feel that if we take you, then you will die. Interestingly, Prabhupada said, Rama can kill and Ravana can kill, better to be killed by Rama. In other words, he compared them to Ravana. So, yes, our best audience are these devotees, but we cannot forget this other side. I ended up with 700 devotees, children being abused, and ISKCON having to pay $26 million for that. The murder of whistleblowers like Sudarshan Prabhu and Chakradhari Prabhu. The theft of estimated to $20 billion. I mean, you see how much we could preach with that, all that money, etc. So we have to also not forget the gross violence against Prabhupada. I cannot hear you.
Sorry, we have a comment by our host here, our wonderful host, Mathura Pati Prabhu.
Jai Hare Bol.
Yeah, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Mahatma
Jai.
Prabhu. So very nice to be here. But actually, all the same question, Maitreya Rishi Prabhu, or comment he was giving, and same what Balaram Prabhu said, actually was also always working in my mind. And I was thinking how to solve this, because they are doing so many things in ISKCON also so nicely. But actually, really, if we go only by Shastra, yeah, but actually, really, I remember exactly one Prabhupada shloka from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said that both parties of Gaudiya Math, so Sangh Singh Bazar or Sridhar Maharaj's party and the other party, both are azara, useless. But I was shocked. How they can be useless? They chant some of them. They chant many more than 60 rounds and everything. Some of them they stay always a brahmachari in their life. So therefore, there was bad mouthing about Prabhupada, this rotten grehasta, because they were so envious, because they could not understand. They are themselves, some of them, always brahmachari, chanting so many rounds, always together physically with a guru, and now Prabhupada should be the next acharya. This was too much for them, grehasta and everything. So, but actually, Prabhupada said, they are useless. So therefore, this was also for me, I was always thinking, how this can be possible? They cannot be useless, but it must be. Prabhupada says, finished. And same, we can also take this example of Shishupala. So Shishupala was always very envious of Krishna. And in the Raja Zuya Yakya, everyone was fully dedicated to Krishna, but only Shishupala could not accept Krishna as the highest personality of Godhead, and always blame Krishna non-stop. And Krishna was hearing. And the other Kshatriyas assembly here on this Yakya, they wanted immediately kill Shishupala, but Krishna says, stop, no. But they know exactly why, because it is a Shastra. If you hear blaspheme of Krishna or the pure devotee, and you cannot argue, or you don't make suicide on the spot, or maybe to kill the other, or if you cannot do all these things, then run away and push your ear, not hear this blaspheme. Otherwise, your credit account of your bhakti is now still stopped for, I don't know how long, but you are finished actually. So, okay, then if we take this example, then every ISKCON center is a place of Shishupala. Because in not one center, they can do so many nice things every day, chanting 108 round, let's say, whatever they do. But in the same time, every one of them, because of this misunderstanding to be cheated, they want to be cheated, they blaspheme Prabhupada, and in his own society, they give him not the position as Diksha Guru. And the other gurus, they have stolen every disciple. The disciples are the property of a guru. This is the philosophical understanding. So to steal someone's property from only Brahmana, not Vaishnava, you go with your family 1,000 times. The Krishna book with a king Nrigi or something. He become a lizard. So what to speak of a pure Vaishnava to steal his devotees? So this is the greatest blasphemy and evil things, and the followers of them are the same actually, because without the followers, the cheater cannot have a platform as cheater. And because these guys who want to be cheated give him the chance to be the cheater. So both are same. Yeah, therefore it's absolute. It must be like this. They go both to hell, or maybe not forever or something. Because also something must be this chanting of Hare Krishna. Something must be also working, but they cannot attain some pure bhakti or something. So therefore, I was also considering all this together. But if I go on sentimental platform, on the feeling something, that's same like, how they cannot be treated like devotees. They do everything what they do. They follow 60 rounds. It looks like, actually it is like this. Logically, it's right to think like this. But if we take the Shastra and Prabhupada quotes and Chaitanya Charitamrita, they are useless. All parties of Bhaktisiddhanta are useless. So finish. They can do what they do everything something, but they're useless. And Shishupala immediately was killed by Krishna after blaspheming and finished with sins. And whoever goes to the temple and don't stop this blasphemers, he is poisoned by this blaspheme. This is, let's say, it is a great risk to go there even, I think, really. Because if we take all the Shastra, it is really a risk. Because if we go there, we must normally immediately defeat them in some points. Otherwise, if we not do it, then we accept this cheating of Prabhupada, that he's not the Diksha Guru, this offering of some maybe poisoners of Prabhupada, even put some prasada to them, so-called prasada. And we do nothing. But even the Kshatriyas, they wanted immediately to kill Shishupala. If not, but then Krishna understood, okay, because this is Krishna's law, they must run away, because Krishna don't want it that every one of the Kshatriya run away from this Yajna, because they should be here and join this Yudhishthira Yajna. So therefore, immediately he killed on his own Shishupala. Otherwise, the other would run away, because Krishna had forbidden to kill them. So therefore, if we take all this example, we cannot go to Shishupala ISKCON actually. It is, maybe I'm too heavy now. What do you say about my vision? Okay, I understand you cannot, but what do you say, Mahatma Prabhu? That's what I said.
Just to let you know, Maitreya Prabhu's put his hand up. Okay, just tell him, Maitreya Prabhu, we're coming to you, so we'll let you speak. He wants a reply from Mahatma Prabhu.
You want me to say something regarding this? Prabhupada said that his godbrothers were responsible for the death of Bhaktisiddhanta, so-called death of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He also compared them to black snake and jackals in an offering to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in 1958. So unfortunately, ISKCON has taken the same path, right, of the Gaudiya Math. So yet there are people in both of these institutions that are receptive to the true bona fide spiritual master, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and they're coming to us. So, but we cannot compromise the philosophy, we cannot compromise the history, and we cannot compromise who is who in this movement. We have to learn to decipher all this very clearly.
Okay, Maitreya Prabhu, go ahead, please.
You're muted.
Hare Krishna. So yeah, thank you for a very nice discussion, Purus. It's very enlivening. Just to bring it back to something that Mahatma Prabhu said earlier, which I think for me needs a little clarification. Just for the context, we were speaking that the guru, if the so-called guru is actually bogus, If he touches the knowledge, it becomes poisonous. So the disciple, he can't make advancement if he touches the poisonous Vani. Okay, so, but your objection specifically to the gurus in ISKCON specifically, if I am quoting you correctly, was twofold. A, that they have changed the books, and I do agree that the books have been changed. Srila Prabhupada himself, he says, Hayagriva, he changed so many things. And, you know, in the 72, there are many changes, but I'm not going to discuss the book changes here because we've been forbidden by Mathurapati to do that. And I want to be respectful of Mathurapati's rules. But regardless, Srila Prabhupada did say that Hayagriva, he didn't change the philosophy. And in connection with this, His Grace Balaram Prabhu also said that the little snakes, they cannot poison the big Prabhupada. So that's very nice. If you read Prabhupada's books, the transcendental potency of the Siddhanta that Srila Prabhupada has given us, it cannot be overshadowed by some neophyte or conditioned soul who just puts his interpretation or his, mistakes on that. So I don't think that is a valid point. I don't accept that as an argument. Perhaps you could maybe come up with a different argument, Prabhu. Although it's a nice conversation, I don't accept this point. And I cannot at the present moment recall your present other point, but if perhaps you'd like to just address this retort. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, we have to make sure that we don't deviate from what Prabhupada says. It's not what I'm saying. It's not what we're saying. What value does that have? But we have to honor what Prabhupada is saying. He's saying false guru goes to hell with his disciple. In the Shrisha Upanishad, he also, they go to hell after their guru business, right? They don't like this to be exposed. This is why Suloshan paid with his life for writing the book, The Guru Business, which is almost 100% based on the letters of Srila Prabhupada. So again, we have to be receptive to those devotees that see that these are not bona fide, they're not qualified, they're not ordered, they're voted by eclectic, all against the Sampadaya. And again, this is the most important principle in life. So this is extremely serious, right? Yet we have to be receptive of devotees that are very sincere and give credit to what Prabhupada is saying, that these gurus go to hell with their disciples. We cannot change that part. When you change that part, then you'll promote mundane politicians that are for unrestricted abortion. That's the next step, right? We've seen this. So we have to be very careful to try to move, again, to the mode of goodness rather than risk going to the mode of ignorance from the mode of passion, right? Of course, promoting the personality, as much as that personality may claim to be a disciple of Lord Krishna, but is for killing over 40 million babies, even after they come out of the womb, you see? So then we're falling into the mode of ignorance. That's the danger. So, but if we stick to Prabhupada's version, 100%, then we can move to the mode of goodness and then nirgun. That's the difference.
Maitreya Prabhu, would you like to give a response to that? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mahatma Prabhu. That's a nice response. just in response, also, I remembered the second point that I wanted to bring up, which was a bit of a contention with your second objection with why the gurus in ISKCON are misleading people and are snakes that are poisoning the Vani, is because you said they are voted in, and that the guru can't be voted in. My thing is that I don't think we should lump all the devotees within such a large institution as ISKCON. Sorry, I think my microphone stopped. We shouldn't lump all the devotees in ISKCON all together. To see things as black and white is kind of an old style of thinking, kind of like a Christian kind of dogmatic way of seeing things, that, you know, these people are bad. I think there's a great variety of devotees in ISKCON. And for example, interestingly enough, there's actually one very prominent devotee, so much so that he's actually one of the members of the Shastric Advisory Council. This is a board which is even higher than the GBC in ISKCON. He's quite favorable to the Bhaktivedanta Lives in Sound Society because he is also quite a good friend of His Grace Purja Prabhu. He actually told us that, and he's currently actively campaigning against the voting system within ISKCON. And being part of the Shastric Advisory Council, he actually made a motion to stop the voting system for the gurus within ISKCON. So it's not a universally accepted principle, and many people also follow his philosophy. So I think it's not necessarily that all the devotees within ISKCON are going to hell. It's quite a mixed bag. That is just my opinion. What do you think about this, Prabhu?
Well, again, it's not something that I am saying. You know, we are using here the Prabhupada only paradigm, only what Prabhupada is saying, right? And I never said that all the devotees of ISKCON are going to go to hell, but I did say that there are devotees in there that are very receptive, that they're, you know, having their own realizations, that you cannot have an unqualified, unordered, unvoted in guru, right? So, you know, if you want to specialize in trying to identify those devotees that are sincere, because I never said that they're all doomed, that they're all, no. Those that are sincere, they're going to find out, you know, that my guru is not authorized, he's not qualified, and he's going to hell, because that's what Prabhupada and the Shastra say. So I should inquire from the rich devotees. We should be receptive to that. That's what I've said. It's not that I don't care about those devotees. You know, if somebody's going to hell, we have to be compassionate and merciful, reflect the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and try to save them. And this is going to happen only if we don't compromise and we have a wide criteria that, yeah, there are some devotees in there that, you know, they would be receptive to us. So that's what Prabhupada says. That's what the philosophy says. That's why Gada and Madai, you know, were protected, right, from Lord Chaitanya killing them by the head preacher, Nityananda Prabhu, right? So, yeah. So one of the things I've identified here in my service of unity and cooperation and following the example of Jayananda is that we could use some tools to better ourselves. We have the tendency to not hear each other. This is a good example. I heard repeatedly, I said that there are devotees in there that are receptive and we should try to rescue them. But the other ones, Prabhupada says, you pay respect from a distance and that's it, right? This is because we don't know about good communication skills. So this is one thing that has been identified. We're too busy thinking what we want to communicate, and we lack, because of that, to hear what our God brother is trying to say to us, right? So it would be good for devotees, especially leading devotees, to take a course on good communication skills. One of them is that you reflect right, what's being said. For example, the white car hit, this black car. Oh, so the white car hit the black car. You repeat back to them what it is that you heard, right? So they know, the speaker knows that you understood what he said, like that. So this is very important. We're too much, thinking of what we want to say, and we don't hear the God brothers and God sisters. That's part of what's going on. The other thing, so that would be good if leaders took courses on better communication skills. And the other thing is even if you have good communication skills or better communication skills, you're going to have some conflict, right? So also some devotees should be trained on conflict resolution, at least a little bit. Even if we read a little bit about these things on the internet, it will be very helpful.
Yes, Boo, that's a fair point. Just to bring it back to what we were originally discussing regarding the gurus, I think for me, I just think there's a bit of a danger to do this pointing fingers thing at the gurus entirely, because I think we should have a look at ourselves also and where we're going and how we will operate in the future. Because just to consider, just something to think about, is that, for example, in ISKCON, the gurus are actually closer. They're quite close to Ritviks. In fact, they're practically speaking, they are Ritviks, right? Because they're not gurus. They're not bona fide gurus. They're voted in. They simply do the formal ceremony. And, they're teaching their disciples to read Srila Prabhupada's books. To some extent, of course, some of them make their own books, but they distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, and it's Prabhupada's mission, and Prabhupada is the founder Acharya and the preeminent Shiksha guru. So practically speaking, the ISKCON gurus are just Ritviks, and they're subordinate to the GBC. So they're not really gurus like Prabhupada is a guru. The thing is that, with them, because they're practically Ritviks, even though ISKCON, they call them Diksha gurus, interestingly enough, they vote them in. And, they can also pull them out whenever they like, which is, how a Ritvik would be within ISKCON. So, but the difficulty is if we look at ourselves in the Ritvik side of things, it's actually more dangerous. For our position is quite dangerous because we don't have such a system. For example, you have your temple, we have our temple here in London, and kind of there are different groups and devotees spotted all across the world. They make their own temple and they become an authority through preaching, and they become a natural guru. They're not voted in by any institutionalism. The difficulty is that there's no check and balance system like the GBC or whatever they have in ISKCON to keep such a personality from actually becoming deviated himself. I mean, it's not like, at least certainly I am not free from anatas. I'm not a pure devotee. So at any time, just like His Grace Mathurapati was actually saying this morning, he emphasized a couple of times that, he also is feeling like that he's there's a potential for him also to fall down or become corrupted, whatever. So I also feel like that. So long I'm not a pure devotee, I can also become a pedophile or a murderer or a bogus guru. So it's just something to consider, something to think about, that for ourselves, it's actually fairly dangerous, because we might become an authority and then there's no check and balance like they have in ISKCON. And, someone can become intoxicated with the power he gets from his good intention to preach Srila Prabhupada's teachings. But then, he attracts people on the basis of the pure teachings. And, he can also fall down. That's what happens in ISKCON originally, right? They weren't like evil gurus from the very beginning.
I understood your point.
Okay,
the distinction is this, that those devotees that understand that only Srila Prabhupada is a true bona fide spiritual master and the initiator, Prabhupada said, I will live forever, I will never die, I will live forever in my books, right? And he said that his books will be the law of the land for 10,000 years. The distinction is this, that for that person, I've always, for years I've said that the philosophy, the Ritvic philosophy is the correct philosophy. That the methodology is very, very similar to that of the corrupt ISKCON gurus and other leaders, right? So the thing is this, that when you are correct in the philosophy that Prabhupada is the only true bona fide absolute Diksha and Shiksha guru, there is hope for you. There is hope for you. With the association of the God Brothers and so forth, you will eventually be rectified. But for the people that think that, the Ritvic system is aprasampadaya and that these voted in, unqualified, unordered persons are bona fide Diksha gurus, there's no hope for that person unless he changes to the correct philosophy. That's a distinction.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, both of you. It was very nice. I'm not sure, because this wasn't our topic. Our topic was unity and cooperation. But of course, this guru position is big and huge, and we can spend hours, and it will come up in our talks. Maitreya Prabhu, is it over for you, or you want to still say something more? Oh.
Yes, well, we agree 100%, Mahatma Prabhu, regarding what you say. But, just to take it, because we're talking about it already, and I hope it's not too much of a deviation from the original topic, but it's quite interesting to explore this. Practically speaking, what do you mean by a Ritvic system? Because you are alone, you're not appointed by anyone. When Prabhupada established a Ritvic system, that was, within ISKCON. Prabhupada made the Ritvics to initiate on his behalf. They're appointed. There's a check and balance system, the GBC. It was all within ISKCON. So outside of ISKCON, what are you referring to by the Ritvic system?
Again, we have to go by Prabhupada only paradigm. So you study that. A very, very good place to study that is ISKCONIRM.com. Prabhupada said, when they asked him, is that Ritvic? Yes, Prabhupada said. And then he confirmed it with his signature on July 9th. And he stated 3 times that these Ritvics, the people that they give initiation to, are going to be his initiated disciples, which is what he stated also in June 6th, 1977, in his last will and testament. He said, can be executive directors of the ISKCON properties, provided with the condition that they are my initiated disciples. Of course, the last will and testament is an entity that is for when one leaves the body, right? So Prabhupada said like that in his testament. He expects all to be his initiated disciples. Here is the view of where I live, the devotees of Krishna, nature,
Okay. Mahatma,
land.
we have one more question from
One more
Gregory
question.
from the UK.
Oh, sorry, it's not a question. So I was
Okay, comment. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So when oh, sorry, there's a bit of an echo when we start.
Yeah, let me get closer to the modem.
Mahatma, you need to mute yourself, then the echo will go away.
Yeah. Maybe mute. So Hare Krishna devotees. So Maitreya asked this question, and as soon as he asked it, what I believe is a nice answer came to me, and I'd like to share that. And I'd like to restate also the question, because the devotee has just joined us in the last few minutes, and that question wasn't heard by the person again. So what Maitreya said was that he said, there's a verse that states that we should not hear the holy name from a false guru, because it's like having milk that is touched by the lips of the serpent. And then he went on to ask how Mahatma said this, but Maitreya asked, he asked Mahatma in response to that. He said, like, how is the ISKCON gurus? How is it that the ISKCON gurus are also doing this with their disciples? How are they? Because they are also getting Prabhupada. They have like false guru in some way, but they also are hearing Prabhupada every day. So how can we say that they are having completely false guru? And immediately it came, and I was thinking that, like, if an ISKCON person, they're listening nicely to some Prabhupada lecture in the kitchen in the evening, and like they're listening to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada is the spiritual master, and in the scripture it says that the spiritual master is to be accepted as Krishna, like as good as Krishna. And also what he is sharing is, because he is a pure devotee, he's sharing the holy name. So he is as good as Krishna, and he is sharing the holy name, and the holy name is also non-different to Krishna. So when he hears the lecture, it is very nice, but as soon as he goes to his guru and he says to him, "Oh, I heard one nice lecture. It was such a nice lecture," or I thought it was this, or I thought it was that, or what do you think? Maybe did I hear it this way, or did I hear it that way? As soon as he asks the opinion, or he asks for some guidance, immediately that means that it is touched by the lips of an impure thing. It is touched by the lips of somebody who is not going to represent Prabhupada properly. They're going to skew the message somehow. They're going to lead the person according to their motivations rather than the unmotivated words of the pure devotee. They're going to lead them in some way. So it's exactly the same as having the holy name touched by the lips of a serpent, because Prabhupada is the representative of the holy name and is in effect the holy name. And then he is touched by the lips of someone who is not honest, serpent-like even. So they're exactly the same thing. And it is exactly happening like this all the time. And even we can see this sometimes when we talk with these people who have focus groups.
Hear the mantra from Mayavadi.
Yeah. So when we hear
Madhu say, even never hear from Mayavadi the Mahamantra. But Mahamantra cannot be polluted, but why we should not hear from them. But there is confused like Mayavadi, they want to become like Sakshat Hari, like God.
Are you sure? Okay. So it is true that when we hear from people who are skewing the message, or they change the message to some degree, then immediately it is the lips of the serpent. So I thought, oh, this is a good analogy that immediately as soon as they go to the person, after hearing from Prabhupada, you see, if they only heard from Prabhupada, it might take them a very long time to get it. Like if there was no guru to move it one way or another, and they only heard from Prabhupada, it may take them a long time to get it, but eventually they would get it. After 10 years, 20 years, they would get whatever was in that class. But when they go to someone and they say, "I didn't fully get it. What do you think?" "Oh, okay." And the serpent says, "Okay, let me touch it with my lips. No problem."
What about if he repeats what Prabhupada says also?
Well, then he's not a serpent.
Right.
So sometimes, it is possible. But if he,
Prabhupadanugas, and I get people speculating, I get devotees speculating so much.
Yeah,
within the Prabhupada community. So there's serpent poison, nothing to stop it happening here.
But in order to not be a serpent, he would have to, as Balaram said, what if he does repeat what Prabhupada says? In order for him to not be a serpent, he would have to repeat what Prabhupada says every day, all the time. Like there's the saying, even a stopped clock tells the right time twice a day. So maybe one day he tells what Prabhupada says, and then maybe the next, because it suits him, it makes him seem good. But the next day, it goes against some motivation he has or something he wants to do. So then he changes that one. So in order to not be a serpent, he has to be consistent. He has to be conclusive and consistent in that way. So in that regard, the person would get it if they didn't have their teaching, their vani. As Maitreya said, it is influenced by the serpent. He's when he clarified a little bit, he said there's some influence. The vani is touched like that.
Last one. I will.
Yeah, sure. That is fine.
Devotees, I see
Yeah. Also, we.
Matt,
One second.
Matt iPhone hands up. Who is that?
I'm trying.
Sorry. One minute. My last.
Okay, now I like to just say that there are some devotees that are very expert in this field. One of them is Krishna Kant. The other one is Harikata. Unfortunately, could not be here to give class, but we have an English class every 2 weeks. Harikata gives class there, and I encourage you to listen to him. Then there is our own Krishna Kishore here in Mexico. He's a scholarly type of devotee. There's a lot of the way to understand these things better is by approaching these devotees that are have studied this very nicely, and they can explain it to others. Is there any other comment or question regarding unity and cooperation?
The last point on this. Last point I wanted to say to this.
Yeah.
So if we go, Prabhupada put in his Back to Godhead, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's esoteric explanation of the Krishna Lila, Krishna book Lila. And so, but even if some of the false gurus say something nicely, exactly what Prabhupada said, let's say, so it looks like it's good, okay. But in the whole, they are putanas, so that I think every one of us understand. And if someone read the explanation of putana and the goal, what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati is saying, that actually the goal of putana, it means bogus guru. Whatever he speak nicely, but if he is not authorized as a guru, he is putana. And putana, his goal is to destroy baby Krishna. So putana would always kill baby Krishna. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said in his harmonist that our own growing Krishna consciousness is also baby Krishna. And the mission of putana is to kill baby Krishna. By even little bit change of Diksha, Shiksha, and then other topics exactly on Prabhupada's line maybe, it would be enough to put this poison so that the other devotees, followers of ISKCON, they can, up to the end of their lives, they cannot understand what is real, that Diksha can also work without physical intercourse, and that Prabhupada is this, the real Diksha Guru. It's enough. And this is actually also destroying baby Krishna. So before Putana was coming to Krishna, she killed more than 1,000 children in Gokula. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati in the harmonist, he said that these children, there was all these children what wanted to be cheated, and only these people can be killed by Putana, means the false guru. If Putana came to Krishna, to the real Krishna, means also in us, growing Krishna consciousness, someone not want to be cheated, then immediately he can recognize this is Putana by Shastra, by everything else, and then he kill Putana by knowledge. So philosophy. So that means whenever some of the gurus speak something nicely, okay, but in the whole we must understand the mission of Putana is always to kill baby Krishna, finish. Otherwise, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Hamas would be not right, and probably also not. Okay, sorry, this was the last statement. Sorry.
Hare Krishna. So I just want to clarify with Balaram Prabhu if the kind of like line of conversation and discussion that this is going in, if this is like, is this the right mood? Is this okay? It's going okay. What do you think, Prabhu? Okay, because I mean I don't want to come across like the wrong way if it's like creating too much of a heated or like challenging atmosphere. I mean, I just think it's nice to discuss things, because I mean, I was never part of ISKCON, but I know that in ISKCON, there's like shunning. If you ask certain questions, like you get kicked out, and you can't, for example, you can't say, was Prabhupada poisoned immediately? You get blacklisted from all the temples. So, I mean, we finally come together with an opportunity to discuss without being shunned, like in ISKCON. I think it's just kind of a nice opportunity to ask. But I don't want to seem like I'm just like I have something against Mahatma Prabhu. I have nothing against His Grace Mahatma Prabhu. I mean, I don't want it to come across like that. I don't want him to feel like any pressure or have to. I mean, he seems a little unsure, about the answer. So maybe I can just ask my final question, which was in relation to what we were discussing with Mahatma Prabhu, but to another devotee. Maybe if His Grace Mathura Prabhu or Balaram or anyone else in the call would like to maybe just address this point, which is totally just a general principle that I'm just having a question about. Yeah. So my question.
I just know that I had the microphone off. We have this presentation is about unity and cooperation, and that can only happen if you have a true bona fide spiritual master. So we should focus on that more than on the false gurus, of course. And there's a good idea that we learn from expert devotees. The most expert devotees that I know of on Guru Tattva are Krishna Kant, Hari Kata, even new young devotee Krishna Kishore in Mexico. So we can discuss Amos ourselves. You can discuss with Amos those that are close to you, and that will clarify things. And in addition to that, we have a class every 2 weeks in English, and the speakers are Harikata, Krishna Kishore, myself, and sometimes we have others like Dharma Bhavana Prabhu, etc. So in this way, we can, we go to the experts. The Buddhists have dedicated a lot of time to the subject. That will help a lot. But this is, let's see if we have any other question or comment regarding unity and cooperation, since that's the topic of this class.
Sorry, Prabhu. I didn't. Although I will totally take your advice and take advice from the other people. Even I may check out your class. I just didn't get to ask the question. Balaram Prabhu, he did give me permission to ask. If you would be so kind to just let me ask that final question in regard to this, would that be all right? If anyone else would like to answer, I would be like to hear from other devotees also, if they would like to drop a real
just go ahead.
Okay, great. So
that it's already 7 p.m. So let's have this question answer in the last 5 minutes.
Sure.
Sorry.
So yeah, my question is that what is our solution to the potential problem of us also becoming, bogus gurus? Because I think that's a real possibility. It's not that just because we're not in ISKCON, we're now immune from the material contamination. In fact, we might be even a more dangerous position because there are no checks and balances. I mean, it can happen. You don't have to necessarily be an elected or appointed guru in order to become intoxicated with the desire for puja and pratishta. It happens to ordinary devotees all the time. I mean, I'm not saying that His Grace Ayendra Prabhu had those within his heart, but people did treat Ayendra Prabhu as if he was a pure devotee, and he was not a guru in ISKCON. He was just, a devotee who was doing the Harinam in the Sri Krishna Balaram Mandir, and he was doing it 24 hours. So they thought he was a pure devotee. So what to speak of us? People can also begin to praise us like that. It might get to our heads, and that can become a difficulty. I'm just asking, what is a safeguard, a parameter that we can take to making that a solution for that? Hare Krishna.
We understand your question, Prabhu. And again, unity in cooperation will help. Associating with devotees that are very well versed on this topic, try to hear from them, associate with them, ask them. I am not the best one, but like I said, you should read Krishna Kant's website. You should interact with Harikata, our own Krishna Kishore, temple president in Mexico, although he's very young. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, just to close it off, we can say that actually we're very fortunate during this. Why is that having feedback? Okay, Haribo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear
Yes.
you. It's only back when it's not muted. You forgot to mute it. That's why the people.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we're very fortunate. We should have a lot more on this topic, but because the main theme of this festival is actually unity and cooperation, we know when we get into the guru issue, it's a huge, we can have months and months of talk, which is great. And we do need to have these talks and a forum where everybody can ask and get their fully satisfied question off and answer. But just for now, we'll close it by saying that actually in half an hour after this, remember this point, that what's stopping the Ritviks from also becoming false gurus. So that, if we can deal with that there also.
Yes.
You finished?
Oh yeah, Mahatma Prabhu asked if there was any more comments to do with unity and cooperation. Anything other people would like to say, anything about unity and cooperation, and immediately.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because you were talking about this today, last night I was reading some things from Prabhupada, and immediately one article came up. It was Prabhupada saying there is no cooperation without surrender. So meaning these two things have to go hand in hand. Like Prabhupada elaborates more in this article. It should be easy to find because you type Prabhupada cooperation surrender, and it should come up quite quickly. And he was saying basically that like they go hand in hand. Like you have to surrender to the guru, you have to surrender to Prabhupada. It's a Prabhupada festival, so you have to surrender to Prabhupada in order to cooperate. So you can't just cooperate without. There has to be both things tandem like this. I can't elaborate more because of my memory, but this article is very easy to find, and hopefully it will be shared on the groups and all that. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
The secret is to focus on the lotus, on the dust of the lotus feet of Prabhupada. If we focus on the dust of the feet of Srila Prabhupada, then all the answers will be revealed. All will become very, very clear. So that's what we have to do. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Vancha kalpatarubhya cha, kripa sindhuvya eva cha, patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Congratulations and thank you so much for what you're doing.
Dear devotees, you've got about 25 minutes to get yourself a drink and come back here. For one tough topic coming up, Diksha and Shiksha Guru by Mathura Pati Prabhu. See you soon. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you so much. Glories to Prabhupada.
Thank you. Haribo.